Okay, so we're gonna create the name to watermark your file, right? So I'm just going to go to create and then go to option box, and I'm just going to type my name. Yeah, you should type your name and then student ID. Right, so make sure you have poly on and create. So all you need to do is scale up this guy and rotate 90 degrees to the camera. Alright, so I'm just going to scale up and right, something like that. Okay, so we're going to start animating all the guys on the colored meshed. So for animators, best setting is to use the 3-panel split top. Right, so I have here for the camera, and I got on this side perspective, I can select the controls. Right. So I'm going to hide all this away and use the curve so that I will only select the rotation, and I don't accidentally select things which I don't want. Alright, so I won't be using this outliner because all the controls are located on this curve on the puppet itself. Alright, so again, before you start, essential to choose and check. Again, you're on 24 frames and time slider 24. Again, infinity, undo. Alright, so things to go. Okay, so for start, you should try to block your animation in small range, because if you're to select all this to the end, it's like 200 frames and it's really difficult to control the independent frames individually. So I'm just going to block like probably 50 by 50. So 50 frames, and then I'll go work on the next 50 frames and next 50 frames and so on. So the first key, again, you need to set key to start the first key, right? So I'm going to do first key. Make sure you're animating on frame 1 and not frame 0, because you can't render frame 0 with motion blur in future for your personal demo reel. Alright, so make sure you render and start on frame 1. I use auto key. So again, we explained auto key on the previous lesson, so it's up to you personally if you like auto key or not. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to set key for the first frame. Set key, right click, set key. So earlier on, we talked about the vibration in the first few frames. Right? You can see there's a slight jerk. If I zoom in real close on the black box, you can see there's a slight jerk. Right? So we talk about anticipation. So the mechanic or something that is machine-like, you need to create some kind of vibration before the object starts to move. Right? So I'm just going to set key a little bit. A couple of keys here so probably 5, and I'm going to rotate this guy like a little bit to the back, and then again to the front. Right, so you can see on my graph editor at the bottom here, all the keys are set together, so I have not overlapped it yet. Like what I showed earlier, you see like the curves are all keyed almost every frame, right? So what I'm doing now is called blocking. So in animation term, when you block, that means all the keys are aligned together, alright? So you must remember the term blocking, because there's a blocking pass where usually you need to submit for your supervisor to check, like, yay, he says like, okay, green light, he likes it, then before you start overlapping. Because once you overlap and then he asks you to change, it's very difficult, because you saw my keys, they are all meshed together, right? So it's difficult to change once you start overlapping. So it's better to show the keys that are aligned, that the values that he thinks is enough, before you start overlapping. Okay. So I'm gonna start keying here. Probably just frame out a little bit. Alright, so in physics, of course, when the black box goes forward, the tail should go backward. Makes sense? So when the head goes forward, the tail needs to be behind, right? So obviously that's why I keep the back. And then again, as the guy goes backward, you can see that this guy goes backward a little bit, and my chain should ripple opposite. Okay, so I'm gonna key another 5 frames. Okay, set key, and push down. So you can see that there's a slight vibration. Alright, so I want to tone down some more. So you should try to practice to key in 3, 5, 7 or 9. Alright, so in animation we actually set keys on the odd numbers. Alright, we usually don't use 2, 4, 6, 8. Alright, so usually things happen in 1, 3, 5, 7 or 9, so that it's easy to count, because we need the if you recall your bouncing ball, if there's 3 frames, we need 1 in the center. So there's 1, the 2 there's at the middle, and 3. So between 1 and 2 there's 3. Alright, so you cannot have 2 or even, because there's nothing in between. Make sense? Alright, so usually we key in odd numbers. Alright, so I'm going to set on every 5 frames, so it's easy for me. Okay, so here, and this guy starts to go forward, way to here, and I'm just going to drag behind. Okay, so earlier we talked about dragging. Alright, so we need to drag the chain effect of this pink ball to be behind the black box. Alright, so we'll figure out how much to drag later. So if I just play this few frames until it hits, let's say 55. Okay, so I'm gonna play. Okay, so you can see that the drag motion starts. Alright, so the drag motion starts, but then I need acceleration, because the black box slows down at the end, right? Say here. Okay, so I'm gonna play this motion. So you can see that the black box accelerates and then slows down at the end before it starts to hit on the grey box. Agree? So it means that it should bend more and then bend less, right? Because it accelerates and then slows down. Okay, so I'm going to use this perspective camera to actually pan, so I can select the controls and get this guy here, and I'm going to put this to the last frame. Alright, so in between here means I need to have some sort of acceleration, so I'm going to put somewhere in between to increase the value even more. Also, so I'm going to play. Alright, so you can see the front has some kind of a small anticipation, and then the bend increases and then decreases, correct? So you can see that all the keys are aligned together, again for blocking purpose. There are a couple of ways for blocking. This method of blocking is called spine blocking, where you can see every frame of animation. If you were to select the curve and click this button, which is called snap, and if I press play, you can see that the poses are very rigid. Some studios like this way of blocking, right? Like Blue Sky, people who do Ice Age using Real. That company loves step blocking, right? Because if you recall your Tani, before you start drawing the in-betweens, you kind of draw the breakdown poses like here to here, and these are the poses for your suit to check. Like he kind of like the poses before you do the in-between. So it depends on the workflow of the company itself. So for Lucasfilm, they like to do the spine blocking, which is what we did earlier on. Okay, which is this. Alright, so depending on the director himself, right? Some director likes step blocking, some director likes spine blocking. Alright, so it depends on the studio itself. So again, if you want to create the step blocking effect, select all the keys and key this guy, which you can see this zigzag icon here. It will snap all the keys at a right angle. Okay. So I'm going to spine it back again, and I'm going to move forward for the next 50 frames. Right, so let's scrub through. So you want this guy to come to a stop. So we need to go to the opposite. Okay, so if you recall your bouncing ball, your object comes to a stop, the momentum must reduce, right? So you can see that this value and this is too close, so I'm just going to reduce probably by 50%. Alright, so if I play the frame so far that I have, alright, so you can see that the curve starts to accelerate, and as it slows down, the curve kind of catches up, right? So you can see that it's too slow. Now, let me just increase this again forward. So you can see that the keys are, well, the first pass that you get accelerate and it slows down, the curve starts to come to a complete stop. Okay, so again it's too slow, so I'm just going to get this slightly earlier. Alright, so about 100 frames, I guess it looks okay. So I'm going to work with the next batch of 50 frames. Alright, so this guy comes to a complete stop, and before it stops, the box accelerates and moves to the other side. Alright, so again, I'm just going to go to the last few frames and key the opposite. Okay, So you can see that over here this value is at what? Like here at minus 16, and over here is 9. So obviously that this quick acceleration needs to be a lot more than the other side. So I'm just going to increase this guy. Probably double of 16, because over here I have 16. If you recall, the first acceleration across and this mark is at 16 here, so this acceleration is faster, should be more. So again, I'm just gonna play the whole section that I just animated. Alright, so now over this side, before the box starts to move, right? So before this box starts to move, I can see that the pendulum is already affected, so I should delay this guy. Okay, so you can see that the next attack on the other side of the grey box, you feel the impact at, over here. So this guy will increase this. And it's gonna come to a complete stop. So again, it should swing left and right, left and right. Okay, so the swing needs to be slower and slower and slower, right? So more and more frames. Okay, so I'm going to block the last few frames. So this guy is going to come to a complete stop, and then again accelerate back and slow down back to the center point. So again here it accelerates, so I'm going to do the same as what I did earlier on this section. So probably in the mid, I'm going to create acceleration keys, and over here it slows down and catches up again. Alright, so I want to drag the frames to maintain the drag. Okay, so a lot of times I actually do not divide like what you guys did with the bouncing ball, because that was the first time for you, so that's why I advise you to divide the number of frames. But actually when I animate, I don't even count like how many frames. You can see I'm just actually keying at random, which whatever I feel that is correct on the motion for the camera. Right, so I actually do not count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you need to try to guess the feeling for animation. Right, so you can see that over here it looks kind of unnatural as the drag was too long over this part, so I'm going to use the drag. Okay, so I can add some more swings here until it comes to a complete stop. Okay, so the drag here was still kind of too early. Let's push it further back. Okay, play again. Alright, so the contact point, I want to make it more impact, so I'm going to add some more vibration. Right, so it's coming along. You feel the impact. Right, still very stiff now. Okay, so let's say you block it and you're pretty happy with it. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start overlapping already. So once you overlap, you need to just tune a little bit more to get the correct feel to the effect. So to overlap again, so this is the, remember we talked about the hierarchy. So this guy will affect this guy will affect this guy will affect this guy, and this guy will affect this guy, and so on. Right, so what I need to do is to start to shift the frames. Okay, so you can see now all the keys are keyed together, all my RX, right? So all I need to do is select this guys here, and I'm going to shift this one frame. Alright, so if you hold down shift middle mouse, just gonna push one frame. Alright, so be careful not to move it off. And again, the next one I'm gonna shift 2 frames. Again, middle mouse, shift. And then again, I'm going to shift 1 more frame for the next. And the last one. Okay, so if I select this controls, you can see now the curves are all overlapping, right? So if I play this whole section here, okay, so there you go.